And by the way, you know how many people in the Democratic Party are in favor of Mao? About 13. Like, so, I mean, look, honestly, not that many people agree with Haas on that issue at all. So why are we blowing it up into this massive issue when zero Democratic politicians are in favor of it?
Well, that Piers panel escalated quickly, but nobody is buying these defenses of Hasan Piker. Hey guys, welcome back to the show, your home for independent and nonpartisan commentary and analysis on politics, media, internet culture, and more. One home for all of the above is Piers Morgan Uncensored, one of my favorite shows on YouTube / political media. It is chaotic and, of course, a bit crazy, a bit dramatic at times, but that's also why we love it. And Piers just put together a pretty interesting panel that included both Cenk Uygur and Dave Smith to discuss and debate Hasan Piker, who, as we've covered on this show, just had a glowing profile of him done and is having a bit of a moment. And the twist here, that's a little bit of tea, that's a little bit interesting, is that Cenk is Hasan's uncle. And so, of course, he cares about him and defends him. But, yeah, you'll have to judge for yourself as we watch along here. I'm not really buying some of Cenk's excuses for what the things Hasan has said and done, though I understand defending your family, there does have to be a limit, and for me, the math is not mathing on some of these excuses. But anyway, let's just watch the first bit of this and get into it all, and then I'll explain why it's not adding up to me.
Rolling Stone's just published a feature on your nephew, Hasan Piker. Headline, "Why is everyone scared of Hasan Piker?" It reads, a self-described Marxist with an NSF MS Now vocabulary. He's become famous as a peddler of incendiary takes, not so much moving the Overton window as throwing a brick through it. Among his greatest hits, America Deserved 9/11. There's a lot we can learn from the Chinese Communist Party. Let the streets soak in red capitalist blood, most of which he'd later walk back if not apologized for. It goes on, Piker's a matinee handsome progressive icon who's uniquely talented at translating radical left politics for the kind of Gen Z bros. And the accompanying photo shoot has a picture of him on a motorbike and by a pool looking like a movie star. And the problem with this, I think, Cenk, is that when a lot of Americans see quotes like America Deserved 9/11, and they've been regurgitated because of Hasan's rising profile, and they say there's a lot we can learn from the Chinese Communist Party and let the streets soak in red capitalist blood. They see these quotes come back, and they think this guy is very extreme. And they believe they have a right to be fearful of people like him becoming the faces of the Democrat Party. Before I go to Vinny to talk about that, what would you say in his defense?
Yeah.
Well, we'll get to that in just a second, but it's like it really is a laundry list of incendiary and extreme claims that Piers read there. And the thing is, there's so many more. There are so many more. Just the archives of Hasan are just filled with the most deranged, extreme, and yes, violent rhetoric. He calls for violence a lot. And I'm sorry, but not sorry at all in our current political moment with the horrific things we've seen happen on both sides of the aisle, but particularly as of late to right-wing people like Charlie Kirk. Yeah, that can't be acceptable or okay. And no amount of familial loyalty should really change that reality. But anyway, here's Cenk's response.
Look, we are all on the air for literally tens of thousands of hours. So I've debated Hasan on a lot of this stuff, and he comes from the more, I don't know what word to ever put on it, radical left, max left, whatever it is, right? But again, I'm in favor of Big Ten, and I come from the populist left. So there are some things that are just, you misspeak, and it happens. And he said about 4 dumb things out of, 10, 20, 30,000 hours.
No, there's a
on
lot
air,
more than 4.
Which, you want to disagree with those? Good news. He also disagrees with those. In fact, the 9/11 comment, he came on the Young Turks right afterwards and disavowed it. So it's that people are trying to make it seem like he still believes it when he disavowed it instantly.
So there's 2 pieces of this that I want to unpack. First is the idea that, well, Hasan has been on air for tens of thousands of hours, as have we all. So, of course, you're going to say a couple things. And I think that's generally true that, listen, judge any public commentator, myself included, who has given, thousands of statements and thousands of hours of content or coverage by their worst or the thing that aged the most poorly. And there's always going to be stuff that came out wrong or is unflattering. None of us is perfect, or that we would say again differently. However, there's a limit to that. And America Deserved 9/11 is probably past that limit. Like, I could do 100,000 hours of broadcasting, and I would never say something like that. Like, I said some dumb shit. I've said some shit I regret. I've said some stuff I look back at it and cringe. And I think we all have. And so that point that Cenk is making is true to an extent, though. There are some things that are so extreme or so insane that nobody with an ounce of sense would say them. And that the idea that we deserved, that is a moral judgment, right? It's not just saying, oh, well, it happened because of America's interventions in the Middle East. It's saying that it was deserved, those thousands of people that died, those people that had to jump off the top of those buildings, is such a morally rotten statement that I think it's beyond that, just, oh, we all have said bad things. And now as for the idea that Cenk says, well, Hasan has apologized. Has he? Has he? He kind of has. So it's true that he went on the Young Turks and clarified the statement and was sorry at the time for saying it. But that was many years ago. And the current day version of him kind of trolls about it and hints at still believing it. I mean, just recently, I'll put the headline on screen here from Fox News. Hasan Piker draws fresh scrutiny after framing a newspaper's covering of 9/11 attacks in stream background. He literally put up a newspaper from 9/12, the day after 9/11, about the people that died in the horrific attack as part of his streaming set background to troll about this incendiary statement that he so infamously made. Is that giving sincere regret to you? Is it? It doesn't leave me with the impression that he sincerely regrets anything, personally. Now, we're going to get into more of this panel where Dave Smith challenged Cenk on this, even though they're friends, even though they agree on a lot of stuff in terms of foreign policy. He's like, yeah, no, actually, your nephew's crazy and supports murderous dictators like Mao Zedong. We went through this. Chairman Mao. We went through this just the other day. Anyway, Dave called him out on it, and I thought made a pretty powerful case that Cenk, bless his heart for sticking up for his family. I would probably just say nothing, though he can't really do that because he gets asked about it all the time. But yeah, listen, he's in a tough place with this one because you don't want to trash your family, but there is a limit to what you should be willing to defend or how far you should strain credulity to do so. So I don't know. Anyway, let's keep going here. Just how screwed is America with our national debt? Well, the only question at this point is whether or not it will cross 45 or 47 or 49 trillion before Trump's term ends. And according to our channel partners over on Kalshi, it's already forecasted that the debt will hit 49 trillion under the Trump administration at its peak, and 89% of people think it will at least cross 45 trillion, with 65% saying it will cross 47.5% of a trillion, and 40% thinking will even break $50 trillion. This is fine. Nothing to see here, folks. Just mountains more of government debt that increases costs in terms of interest payments, crowds out private investment, and drags down the economy, all while passing the bill for our current day spending to future generations. But at least we can follow the slow descent of our world into chaos over on Kalshi, the first CFTC-regulated exchange dedicated to trading on the outcome of future events. If you want to go ahead and place your prediction on the national debt or anything else, just download Kalshi today and use code BRADP when you sign up to get $20 free when you trade $20 now.
Cenk, he is on record, though, quite openly, when he discusses Mao Zedong, he goes, yeah, man, I mean, there were some excesses, absolutely. Like, I don't think he should, but hey, he industrialized China and all this. And I gotta say, brother, you know that I love and respect you, Cenk. So you gotta understand, dude, that's freaking concerning for people. You know, the fact that these types, whatever you want to call it, the left maximalist types, if they were to look at the Industrial Revolution in England or in the United States of America, they have nothing to say except for exploitation, capitalist wage theft, grueling labor conditions. But when it comes to Mao Zedong, who's slaughtering people by the tens of millions, pointing guns at people's heads and forcing them off of farms into factories.
Yeah, I'll just pause on this to say we went over this the other day, but the historical archives on this are very clear. Some people suggest that, oh, well, the tens of millions of people that died under famine, under Mao during, the Great Leap Forward, as it so darkly and ironically was called, Well, it was like mismanagement. It was like bad policy. It wasn't intentional slaughter. And that's true to some extent, although, as we went through, some of the policy choices were known to him and known that they would cause mass starvation, and he did it anyway. But underrated here, I know maybe Hasan writes it off as just a few excesses or whatever, but he also directly killed and tortured millions of people during all of this. Directly. So not even just died from famine. So even if you were to somehow, and you absolutely should not, but even if you were to somehow say, well, the famine was just a mistake, he was well-intentioned, even excluding that, this is a mass murderer who oversaw a regime that slaughtered and tortured millions of people. And Hasan thinks he's amazing and dandy and even cosplays him. That's not a couple bad takes. That's not, oh, well, we've broadcasted for thousands of hours, so all of us are going to say something a little silly. It's a long-standing pattern of supporting authoritarian extremists in pursuit of some sort of socialist collectivist ideology. That is why people abhor Hasan Piker and are justifiable in doing so. Anyway, we'll keep going here.
We go, well, hey, man, I mean, he did build a factory at the end of that. I'm sorry, dude, but like if someone's talking about Adolf Hitler that way, you would immediately have alarm bells going off, going like,
yeah.
Whoa, what? And this is a thing that people are creeped out about. There's something in Mamdani, there's something in a lot of these guys where, why do I see a video from you 5 years ago and you have a thick African accent? Why were you a completely different person a few years ago? What's going on here? It's a reasonable question for people to ask.
So
But
he's
that's
pushing the
simply not
Overton window,
true.
you push it back, and that's a normal debate. Nobody's got to get
That's simply
canceled
not
over it.
true. Mamdani is
I
on
agree
the
with-
record
no one
saying
should
that
get
he wants to
canceled.
seize the means of production. This is not just, it's not someone's fanciful predictions. He's literally saying this. And I think it's really curious that you never actually answered Pierce's question. What are your thoughts on Mao? You deflected by talking about Israel and Netanyahu. By the way, I kind of agree with you. I'm not an Israel supporter. I'm not part of the mainstream media, yet I have concerns, legitimate concerns with your nephew. And there's nothing to do with Israel. Israel isn't even part of my calculation here. But you completely deflect.
Yeah, I agree with that, because at one point, and this is clipped up, obviously, I'm not going to play the whole thing. At one point, Cenk talks about how, well, they go after Hasan and other critics of Israel and all this. And it's like, is that part of it? Probably. But it's like, for me, when I go through my top 10 lists of insane Hasan statements, none of them even are about Israel. Right? It's not even just about that. And there are lots of prominent critics of Israel who don't also say that Republicans should be murdered over and over again, or cosplay as dictators or mass murderers or any of this stuff. So it's kind of a deflection. And the truth is that Cenk mentioned something about, well, he shouldn't be canceled. I don't think or at least not me, is trying to cancel him in terms of shut him down or get him banned off the internet or anything like that. Though he probably, for certain violent statements he's made, should have faced more severe consequences from platforms for violating their terms of service. But to criticize somebody for their present day advocacy and beliefs isn't canceling them. Canceling them was like digging up old tweets or taking stuff out of context and trying to permanently ruin people's lives over small mistakes or misstatements from their past. Not saying that like people who simp for dictators and call for violence are bad and shouldn't be associated with. That's not cancel culture at all. So that again feels very disingenuous to me as a defense. We'll keep going here.
And said these people are mass murderers who killed hundreds of thousands of people. Well, guess what? Mao killed tens of millions of people and starved them to death. It's not okay to legitimize, because there are millions of people watching your nephew. Okay, he's normalizing this trash.
Well, look, Lindy,
It's true.
Lindy, if you're asking my opinion, that's super easy and clear. I'm totally against Mao. So, okay. And then what happened? Nobody's head exploded. Nobody, like the Democratic Party didn't immediately, melt. It's okay. So, and by the way, you know how many people in the Democratic Party are in favor of Mao? About 13.
By the way,
Like, I mean, look, honestly, not that many people agree with us on that issue at all. So why are we blowing it up into this massive issue when zero Democratic politicians are in favor of it? Zero.
So this is a point that Cenk makes where he's like, listen, I'm glad that he doesn't agree with Hasan about Mao, but that's fine. But he still, in this and elsewhere, defends Hasan as like part of the coalition and part of the big tent and everything. And he's like, well, it's not such a big deal that Hasan simps for Chairman Mao, because that's not a widespread position in the Democratic Party, right? Elected officials aren't out here saying and doing this. And that's true. I mean, you could find a couple examples, but it's broadly true. but I'm not sure that really gets you off the hook. I mean, let me give you an alternative example. Nick Fuentes, the alt-right streamer and troll, openly simps for Hitler in a way that is actually quite similar, maps on as a parallel, I think, to Hasan and Mao. And Nick Fuentes, if candidates for the Republican Party started campaigning with Nick Fuentes, who loves Hitler, I don't think anybody would be saying, well, it's not that big a deal that they're campaigning with a pro-Hitler person because, like, they don't support Hitler. The candidates aren't out here saying they love Hitler. Like, you see how that would just not at all be acceptable? And actually, on just raw numbers, Chairman Mao probably is responsible for a higher body count than Hitler. Now, I'm not here to, like, debate the historical record of who was more evil or not, but it's, like, both obviously evil monsters. And so this just doesn't hit for me as an excuse for Hasan or for the Democrats campaigning with him. The fact that they don't also say it, I guess, but and the criticism or clarification I always make here is I don't have an issue with Democratic lawmakers or Republican lawmakers, if they have the opportunity, going on Hasan's streams and trying to reach the people that watch him. But going on a media platform to discuss or even debate with someone is not an endorsement of them. Bringing them to campaign for you, as many of these Democratic lawmakers have done, is essentially an endorsement of this person. And that's where I think things have gone really darkly astray for the Democrats with their embrace of Hasan. And he wouldn't be saying this about a Hitler lover like Fuentes. So anyway, we'll watch the last bit here.
Zero. Why
I
is this a
guess,
giant
Cenk,
issue?
I guess
Guys,
the
what you're
reason-
not getting
I
is
guess
that you're
the
helping
reason, Cenk-
the guys. Look, no, but you guys get it, right? So what the establishment does, they do it on all the issues, but they do it most on Israel, is they try to cancel people on the left and the right who are outsiders, and they do it by doing smear by proxy.
Yeah, but
I
Cenk,
get
no one's
that you
trying
have
to cancel
other
him.
issues with
Cenk,
what Hasan is
Cenk,
saying,
Cenk,
but you guys are
Cenk,
helping
Cenk.
when you try. And by the way, people on the left then try to help
Yeah, but
cancel
Cenk,
Tucker Carlson
Cenk,
and Marjorie Taylor Greene, and it drives me
Cenk,
crazy. Don't do
Cenk,
that. Don't feed
Cenk,
into the
Hasan-
establishment
Cenk,
smear by proxy.
Cenk, you are conflating cancelling with making somebody accountable. If somebody is a rising political star, as Hasan indisputably is, then his stuff that he said on the record should be held to proper microscopic account to see what he actually believes.
No problem.
And his
But, Piers, do you
minimalizing
get my
of
ask?
his minimalizing of Mao's outrages and genocidal monstrosity is a very concerning part of his record.
Yeah, look, I completely agree with Piers here and with Piers on this one. It's not canceling to try to hold Hasan Piker accountable for his extremist record as a political commentator. It's like we evaluate a professional athlete based on their record as a professional athlete, right? And the games they've played. Well, we evaluate a political commentator. We evaluate a legislator on the votes they've taken, the things they voted for and against. We evaluate a political commentator on their past and present political commentary. And then we decide whether they are good or fit for purpose at that job. It would be canceling if 15 years ago he had said dumb stuff that doesn't represent who he is today at all, and people were digging it up to try to hold him, get him fired from things or censored or something. That's not what's happening. We're upset about who he is and what he stands for today. And I don't know. I get that Cenk has family loyalty and loves Hasan, and I do understand that, but I don't think that. I think it's clearly clouding his vision here and informing his defense. And who knows? Actually, Piers has issued a challenge to Hasan Piker on Twitter to come on the show and one-on-one do an interview and face some accountability and scrutiny. I hope it happens, but I'd have to say I'm a little bit skeptical that it will. Hasan likes to do a lot of glowing media and always has time for these like simp thirst profiles and for more friendly interview settings. He doesn't do a lot of adversarial media. In fact, he's done it a couple times and it doesn't usually go very well for him. So he does tend to stay in his kind of progressive media safe space a lot. So who knows? I hope it happens because it'd be must-see TV or YouTube TV. But anyway, I thought this was an interesting segment, but I'm not buying any of the excuses or defenses of Hasan Piker. I'm just not. Anyway, guys, you'll have to let me know what you think in the comments below. Make sure to subscribe to the channel. If you aren't yet, do hit the like button. While you're at it, consider becoming a channel member to support my independent-minded commentary. I'm unfortunately not quite as big as Piers Morgan Uncensored, so I do need support from viewers like you. Hit the join button or click the link in the description. And with that, guys, we'll be back with more real soon.